And yes, speaking of the energy prices, Mr. Donald Trump had a lot to say about that too. Mr. Trump, he believes that America has one massive advantage in this crisis, and that is energy. Speaking about Air Force One, Mr. Trump argued that the United States possesses more oil, gas, coal resources than any country on the planet. Well, he suggested that America is well positioned to handle disruption across the West Asia instability. In fact, he also pointed to the energy cooperation and future production increases as a reason for this kind of confidence. Mr. Trump, he repeated his long-standing position on Iran's nuclear ambition. His message blunt. He says that Iran will not be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon ever. According to Mr. Trump, pressure on Tehran will continue through diplomatic, economic, and strategic means. These comments really matters. Why? Because energy remains one of the biggest concern, wherever the conflict erupts in West Asia. Well, every missile strike, every military operation, every threat to the shipping route, it immediately affects the oil market. Investors watch every headline. Governments monitor every development. Consumers worry about the fuel prices here. Mr. Trump argued that despite all the fear of skyrocketing oil prices, markets have remained more stable than they were expected to. But let's be honest here. Let's move on to the analysts. They warn that stability can disappear quickly if the whole conflict expands further. Well, take the example of Strait of Hormuz. That remains one of the most important energy choke point in the world. Iran is not the only challenge that Israel is facing tonight. That's right. Just when the whole region thought that things couldn't become more complicated, another missile entered the picture. And this time it is from Yemen. Ladies and gentlemen, air raid alerts sounded across central Israel after Yemen's Houthi movement. They launched a missile towards Israeli territory. Well, the attack, it immediately reminded the entire world that the whole conflict, it is no longer limited to Iran and Israel. It now stretches across multiple countries and multiple armed groups. Now, the Houthis are not new. They are backed by Iran. They have transformed from a local Yemeni force into a major regional player. Well, over the years, they have developed long-range missiles and drone capabilities just to allow them to strike targets thousands of miles away. Their involvement, it means that Israel must now think about threats that are coming from multiple directions but simultaneously. Security planners, they cannot focus on one front alone, right? They must monitor activity in Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, all at the same time. Now, for military planners, this creates a lot of challenge. Well, for civilians, it creates anxiety, uncertainty. One day the threat comes from Iran, the next day it comes from Yemen. Every new battlefront, it stretches military resources and increases the chances of the whole escalation. The Houthis insist they are acting in support of Iran though, against Israel. But their actions, they are now influencing the entire West Asia. Every launch creates new diplomatic headache and new security concern. Their growing involvement, it also increases fear that the whole conflict could evolve into a broader regional confrontation involving several armed groups operating across different countries. And yes, the Houthis, they were not just targeting Israel with missiles here. They were also targeting the global trade. Imagine if one announcement suddenly threatens one of the busiest shipping routes on the planet Earth. Sadly, this is exactly what happened when the Houthis declared what they called a complete ban on Israeli ships in the Red Sea. At first glance, this may sound like a regional issue. It is not. The whole Red Sea, it is one of the world's most important trade arteries. In fact, massive cargo ships carrying fuel, electronics, food, machinery, in fact, consumer goods, it travels through these waters every day. So when shipping companies feel unsafe, they change the course. So this means longer journeys across Africa. That means higher fuel cost, that means bigger insurance bill, that means delivery delays, and eventually higher prices for the consumers around the globe. We have already seen major shipping companies reroute the vessels because of security concerns in the region, right? Such diversions, they can add few weeks to the shipping schedule and significantly increase the operating cost here. In the meantime, the Houthis argue that their actions they are aimed at pressurizing Israel. But the economic impact it extends far beyond the West Asia. European markets, Asian manufacturers, global energy suppliers all rely on uninterrupted maritime trade. So if attacks they increase, supply chains could once again face major disruptions here. Investors and governments they are watching these developments very closely because what happens in Red Sea it affects far more than the regional politics. It affects the global economy.